My name is Daniel, and this story happened to me when I was around 16 years old. Something that changed the way I look at people, at families, and even at myself. It's one of those moments that sneaks up on you in the middle of an ordinary day but ends up living in your memory forever. It was a rainy Thursday, the kind of day where the clouds hang low and gray and you just feel like curling up somewhere warm. My best friend Michael had invited me over to his house after school like we often did. We grew up together, lived in the same neighborhood, and his house was basically a second home to me. I didn't even knock on the door anymore. I just walked in, called out his name, and made myself comfortable. But this time, when I stepped into the living room and called out for him, the person who appeared wasn't Michael. It was his mom, Mrs. Carter. She leaned against the doorway to the kitchen with a soft smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She always treated me like family, but something about the way she looked at me that day felt different. Like she had been holding back tears or had been carrying something heavy all by herself. "Hey, Daniel," she said quietly, her voice gentle but a little shaky. "Michael's still at practice. He'll be home soon." I was about to turn around and say I'd just wait outside when she added, almost hesitantly, "Would you mind staying for a bit? I could actually use a little help. I'll pretend you're just helping me if that's okay." The way she said those words struck me. Pretend? Helping her with what? She smiled again, but this time it was a sad sort of smile, one that asked for understanding without saying too much. I nodded, dropped my backpack on the couch, and followed her into the kitchen. There on the counter was a box of groceries that she was struggling to lift. I quickly moved over and grabbed it, setting it down with ease. For me, it wasn't heavy, but I could tell it had been too much for her. She exhaled deeply, almost like she had been holding her breath. "Thank you," she whispered. Then, almost like she was talking to herself, she added, "I don't want Michael to see me like this." I didn't know how to respond, so I stayed quiet. I helped her unpack the groceries, placing the cans neatly on the counter while she handed them to me. For a moment, the room was silent except for the rustle of plastic bags and the soft hum of the refrigerator. After a while, she looked at me and said, "You're such a good kid, Daniel. I hope you never have to see your mom like this. Parents are supposed to be strong, you know? We're supposed to carry the weight so our kids don't have to. But sometimes," she paused, her voice breaking slightly, "sometimes we can't. And in those moments when someone helps, I just ask them to pretend it's nothing. Pretend you're just being kind. That way I can still feel like I'm holding everything together." Her words sank into me like a stone in water. I had never thought about it that way before. As kids, we see our parents as unshakable, as people who have everything figured out. But standing there in that kitchen, I realized that wasn't always true. Adults could break down too. They could be scared or lonely or tired in ways they didn't want anyone else to see. I wanted to say something comforting, but the lump in my throat wouldn't let me. So instead, I did exactly what she asked. I pretended. I pretended that all I was doing was helping unpack groceries, nothing more, nothing less. And in that silence, she seemed to find some peace. When Michael finally came through the front door, soaked from the rain and carrying his gym bag, his mom had already wiped her face, smoothed her hair, and greeted him with her usual warmth. She cracked a joke about the weather, handed him a towel, and acted as though everything was perfectly normal. He never noticed the redness in her eyes. And I never told him. That moment became one of those memories that never fades, one I carried with me into adulthood. Because what I learned that day wasn't just about Mrs. Carter. It was about people in general. Sometimes the strongest ones around us are also the ones silently fighting the hardest battles. And sometimes the greatest gift you can give them isn't advice or questions or even solutions. It's just quiet help. It's pretending with them so they don't feel weak, so they don't feel like they've lost the role they're supposed to play. After that day, I found myself paying more attention, not just to Mrs. Carter but to the people around me. I started noticing the little things. The way my own mom rubbed her temples after a long day, the way my dad sat in the car a few extra minutes before coming inside, the way teachers at school sometimes looked exhausted before the bell even rang. I realized everyone has moments when they wish someone would just step in quietly without making a big deal out of it. The bond one had with Michael's mom grew stronger too. She never brought up that day again, and I didn't either, but whenever I came over, she always had this look of gratitude in her eyes. Like she knew I understood something that most people didn't. She didn't have to explain anymore. Years later, when I was getting ready to leave for college, she hugged me tight and whispered, "Thank you for being there that day, Daniel. You'll never know how much it meant." I smiled, but deep down I knew. It wasn't just about carrying groceries. It was about carrying a piece of her burden, even if just for a moment. Looking back, I realized that was one of the first times I understood empathy not just as a word but as an action. Empathy isn't about grand gestures. It's about being present, about stepping in when someone is too proud to ask, about protecting their dignity while still giving them the strength they need. And so, whenever I think of Mrs. Carter's words, "I'll pretend you're just helping me," I remind myself that sometimes pretending isn't lying. Sometimes pretending is kindness. Sometimes it's the most respectful way to help someone heal. That day in the Carter's kitchen taught me something I'll never forget. We don't always need to be heroes. Sometimes just being quietly there is enough. Please like and subscribe my channel for more romantic videos.